All right, we're going to start a few minutes early. I'm waiting for my first guest to get here. Oh, Kathy's here, so he'll be right here. So good, we can start. As I mentioned, we are now streaming on YouTube, and we have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com, and in the search box put AutoSport Radio Show and click on it, and voila, we will be there. We had hoped to upgrade tonight, but it's not going to happen. It won't. We got new computer faster, so look out. We're going to have a new website. It's going to be redesigned and fixed up. There are a lot of things going on, and it's all being done from Computer Overdrive. They're located at 5240 Crawfordsville Road. They're on the little frontage road on the north side of Crawfordsville Road at Lyndhurst, just east of the PNC Bank. And the Mark and Jack is here. If you happen to go down there, you'll see a sign on the front of the building. It's computer, and a pole sign that says computer. When you go there, you want to see Jack. He's the genius. Mark sits at a desk and looks at a screen, and I think takes a nap every now and again. But they can fix your computer. I went in there last week, and I had live streaming on YouTube within an hour. So if you have a computer problem of any kind, go see them. Overdrive, 5240 Crawfordsville Road. And the co-owner is a former crew chief. He's a crew chief for Johnny Unser and also for Davey Hamilton. And he's been in the computer business for about 15 years. So if you need some help, I highly recommend Computer Overdrive at Lyndhurst, just east of Lyndhurst on Crawfordsville Road on that frontage road. May the 14th to the 17th, the Lake Forest Sports Car Spring Vintage Festival in America. If you want to see some great vintage cars, you need to get up to Road America, May 14th to the 17th, for the Lake Forest Sports Car Spring Vintage Special. You will enjoy it, I can assure you. And, of course, don't forget they're coming here in June the 12th. And I have Tony Perella, the president and CEO of SVRA, will be here on June the 9th. And if you like vintage cars, you want to see where some of the cars are the early days, go to svra.com and go to the subscription and order Vintage Racing Quarterly. It is a up-to-date, great quality magazine. You will love it. I want to also remind you that the Indy Racing Experience is performing out at the Indianapolis. If you got a grandchild 9 years old or up, you can get what they call a victory lap. It runs every day. You just have to go out to the Speedway and sign up, but tell them that you are sent there by Don Kay. A photograph, which is they usually charge $60 for, they'll give it to you at no cost. And the single seat and two seat rides, again, if you go to IndyRacingExperience.com and sign in or call them and mention Don Kay, and you get 20% discount on your single seat or two seat ride. WIBC has an evening with Mario Friday, May 15th at the Fountain Square Theater from 7 until 9. Tickets are now in the event section of WIBC.com. And this is your tickets. You get drinks, Indy rivalries, and more. It's hosted by Paul Page. There's door prizes and all kinds of things going on, including Indy 500 tickets. Do yourself a favor. Sign up an evening with Mario, and if you're looking for a place to entertain friends or business, you want to talk to the young lady sitting up at the front table. They have a suite. You talk to her about it. You can call her at 317-847-1616. That's Eileen. Watch the Barber Motorsports Park race. One man drove one hell of a race. One more lap, you might have won it. Things are starting to fall in place. We're very proud to have him here tonight. Please welcome Mr. Graham Rahal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Needless to say, they're here to see you, not me.
Yeah. I don't know about that. I'm not here every week.
That's true. I am, and they're not happy. So how you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. Yeah, everything's going pretty good. It's been a pretty strong start to the year, I think, for our team. And, Barber was obviously a good run. I think St. Pete was shaping up. Everybody's asked me if I thought Barber was the best race car I've had in a long time, and the answer is no. St. Pete was probably the best, and unfortunately with the penalty, which I still think is bogus, but it's done now. I think that was actually a race that we could have won as well, but that's how these things go, and I'm looking forward to the GP this weekend. That was a place we're really strong and got hit by Montoya there on the restart, and unfortunately ended the day. But I think the team's done an excellent job, and I think everybody's seeing the performance that I talked about all winter, that I thought we were going to make some changes that were really going to work. Everybody thought I said that last year, which I did, but unfortunately things didn't, and so it was a tough environment, and I think everybody's seeing now that the team is taking pretty good shape.
From the Honda teams, that you guys didn't get as much track time, seat time with the new aerodynamic package for the road and street courses. Obviously, it's starting to catch up, and Honda's got it, and Honda can do it. Yeah,
I think Honda's done an excellent job. Chevy still has our number, sure, right now, but hopefully we can make some gains in that department. We've led the Honda. We're not Honda's anchor team, as they call it. Andretti is, but I think we've led the charge for them this year so far, and that's been pretty nice. But we just got to keep working hard. They're the people at Ilmore and Pratt and Miller who have designed those Chevy Aero kits. They're smart people. I think the difference really, if you look at, I think the Chevy by the eye is more simple. And I think, therefore, it's a little bit easier to get to work. Our car is very complicated. And I don't even know, quite frankly, we probably haven't even scratched the surface as far as how to understand the thing and actually make it work. But I think what our team's done very well is, as our saying is in the team, KISS, which is keep people. And I think we've done a good job at the basics, and that's kind of gotten us to where we are. But we got some work to do, for sure.
Well, Honda, somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 parts that they added to the car. So to try and get all of those to work or take out something you think you don't need, that's not going to happen in 2 hours of practice on a weekend either.
Yeah, and the oval aero kit's, I think, even more complicated than that.
Oh, really?
Which is a scary thing. So, like I said, we got work to do, and we're going to find out here shortly. And, but at the end of the day, I think when you look at maybe on a qualifying basis, they're a little bit quicker. But I think if you look at like us in the races, everywhere in the races we've been pretty competitive. Long Beach, we got killed. But other than that, I think we've been pretty good, and I think we can race with these guys. It's interesting. The Honda is a very difficult car to follow. I think the aero wash on the Honda is a lot harder than the Chevy. So the Chevy guys, I think, struggle to follow us. Whereas at Barber, most of the cars I was competing against were all Chevys, and it was pretty easy for me to follow them and pass them. The couple Hondas I followed, which was Hawksworth right before the last pit stop, which cost me a bunch of time, as well as Hunter Ray. Those were hard cars to pass. But at the end of the day, things still turned out pretty good.
What I like they've done, and I obviously don't understand. I had somebody in here a few weeks ago that said that, in his opinion, Honda went to either Home Depot or Lowe's and bought 2 step ladders and cut them off and put them on the front wings. But the thing is, the cars don't look spec anymore. They look like a different car, and you can tell a Honda from a Chevy.
Yeah, they look different. They sound different. I don't know how many of you guys were at the Oval the other day when we were running and testing. They sound very, very different from one another. I think it's cool, but you haven't seen the end of that. I think the development that's still to come is pretty extreme. I think next year you're allowed to select 5 boxes to change for 2016. So there's stuff to be done, and there's a lot that you can change there. So it'll be interesting to see how the development goes over the next couple of years. For sure, the Honda's pretty extreme. And what you guys have seen running on the road course, that's not all we have as far as parts. I think the front wing already looks pretty crazy, but there's a whole other section you can bolt onto that thing if you want. And unfortunately, we can't seem to find a way to make that work yet. But It's pretty crazy, that's for sure. There's so many options. The engineers just, I think their heads are spinning. We were trying to get down to the wind tunnel this week and do some testing, and there's just not enough, at our team at least, where there's not enough man happen. It's just too many now.
How does the package work? I mean, it looks, I saw them when they unveiled it, and it looks, when you look at it, somebody like myself, it looks fairly simple. But obviously that's not.
Well, it's pretty extreme too, but a lot of the stuff that are a lot is hidden secret, literally hidden in the side pods and things like that, there's so many different vents and tire cooling slots and this, that, the other thing that we can open up that we just haven't done because, quite frankly, I don't even know that we just don't have a good enough understanding of it yet to then go and try these things. And like the oval test for us the other day, on my side of the car, my had to do 59 laps to mileage out our engine. We had the oldest Honda engine. We've completed every lap of the season so far. Therefore, we were the closest to mileage it out. So we had to do 59 laps and then get that out. So my engine was pretty old, and that was our goal. I think we did 70 or 72, and our goal was just to get that thing gone. And we did, and it successfully made it, no problems. But there's a lot still left to learn about these things. I think there's it ran well. I didn't really run into anybody to know how it is going to be in traffic. I saw, I had a couple guys come up behind me that couldn't really do much with me as far as passing, but then again, it's the first day, really our first test with these cars. I don't think that anybody would be that dominant, but, some of the lap times or the lap speeds you saw up there are pretty good, for a first day, and it makes me think, I qualified at 2:29.9 last year, 30. Obviously, pole was a couple miles an hour quicker than that. It's going to be pretty quick this year for sure. I don't know if they'll beat the lap record, but it's pretty quick.
Can you tell a big got here from last year's car? I mean, is that a noticeable difference?
No. The thing people forget is when you look at these aero kits, last year had a full under tray, right? So the car was complete. Well, this year they punched a hole in it, about like that big. And that's, in essence, it was try to stop the cars from getting airborne. Like when people were crashing backwards, it was lifting up. And they were really worried about that. Well, when you do that, you remove like 1,000 pounds of downforce. So with everything back on the aero kits to get back, you're like kind of just getting back to even. And I would say in certain levels it should have more downforce than last year. But if it had the under tray still complete, it would be a lot more grip. But we haven't done that. We haven't had the ability to do that because those rules were changed. And those rules were changed on the road courses too. So to see the cars as quick as it is at Barber, I think it's going to be real quick here this weekend. That's impressive because you forget how much downforce we lost, by having that. And then not only on the road course car, they took away the under tray in the back. In the back of the side strakes, the sidewalls and the strakes, that's about another 450 pounds of downforce. So all in all, you took quite a hit, and you're just trying to kind of get it all back. But the road course cars definitely got more high-speed downforce. There's no doubt about that. I think at Barber, it was pulling 4.5 Gs or something like that mid-corner. That's quite a high load for these things. And like I said, this weekend I would expect it to be pretty quick on the GP track.
I had heard initially when they were testing that there was some problems because of the downforce being changed so much and put it with suspension.
Well, that's the truth, and that's why the back of the under tray is gone. The sidewalls and the strakes. They had to remove it because the loads were so high that I think there was some concern about suspension parts.
Has Firestone changed the tire to give you more grip?
No, I think a lot of people saw it last weekend at Barber. A lot of cars were falling off, like Dixon at the end. I mean, he'll even tell you when I passed him, he was able to go full rich and full horsepower with 9 laps to go, and he great show. My car was very good on the tires, very consistent, and I think we were able to hunt those guys down because of that.
I've noticed, I was watching on television, and I noticed there's a change in your strategy department. they showed your dad sitting in the stands.
Yeah.
Is that better for you? Do you like that? You don't hear him in your ear?
Well, I mean, I think that's debatable. You know, I think a lot of people have tried to say, oh, well, there was the issue, or whatever. Well, that's not necessarily true. But, you know, pretty emotional guy, and when things weren't going right, it is pretty easy to get fired up. And I think last year, he and the guys on the timing stand, you know, started to kind of get heat at times and stuff. And so, really this year we decided, hey, you know, maybe you ought to just take a step back and see how this works. Quite frankly, he's kind of let us take control of the whole team. Ricardo Naldo, who's our team manager, has done a lot of the hiring this year. I've had a pretty big influence on the people that we brought in on the engineering side in particular. So it's kind of been nice, but I know it's still hard for him, you know, because you get out of the race car at the end of the day, and it's like he's texting you in the middle of the race like you're going to actually see it. But that's okay. I mean, whatever. It makes him feel better, I guess.
Well, it was interesting when the camera times and you were doing well, he was smiling. Now, I've never seen him standing on the scoring stand smiling all that much.
Yeah, well, I think Dad's relieved. You know, you see the performance of the team, and I think everybody here has seen it's quite and where this program was last year. Heck, I think we already have as many points as we did all last year, so that's a good start. But I think at the end of the day, I think Dad has pressure because, you know, when we came together a couple of years ago and decided I was gonna drive for him, there was a lot of things that drove that. The biggest thing being sponsorship and the interest. I mean, I had an offer from Ganassi to stay there and extend for 3 more years, but I just felt that for me was to leave. And, you know, I think Dad feels a tremendous amount of pressure because of that. And he feels like he's letting me down if the team doesn't perform. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of parts to that. But I think finally he's seeing some success, and I think it makes him relieved. I'm sure it's been pretty stressful the last couple of years for him.
Now, you since the last time you had a companion with you a couple of times, you're now engaged to get married. She drives on a lot of the weekends that you do. The two get together and do a lot of texting.
Yeah, texting, FaceTime, you know, anything that you can possibly do. But you know, Court, she's here pretty much this entire month. She'll miss qualifying weekend and miss the race, but you know, she's able. Her races are pretty close. She'll be back on Sunday nights after the race, and you know, that's kind of the name of the game. That's just the way this thing. It's pretty busy for sure. I can't tell you guys how many air miles I've got. I think I'm platinum on everything I can possibly be platinum on. But that's, you got to make it work, you know, and I think everything's going pretty good. She's at home right now making dinner, and that's like the. So I'm looking forward to getting back and seeing how that is. Don't tell her I said that. But it's all good.
I saw poor Tiger today saying how he's been awake, hasn't had any sleep since he and his young lady parted. So you don't want that to happen to you.
Nah, I'm good. We'll be fine.
Is John going to put you in one of his cars?
He's tried, you know, since we started dating. He was, you know, you got to drive a funny car. You got to do this. It's just not my thing, you know. It's just not. I always tell him, you know, I prefer for things to last longer than 4 seconds, and I like to turn, so you know. But whatever floats your boat. I mean, that's what they like, and I really actually enjoy it. I enjoy going and watching it, and you know, being a part of it. But you know, everybody always asks me, well, you know, why didn't you try Formula One, or why didn't you go to NASCAR, or why, you know. Because to me, all that ever mattered was IndyCar racing, you know, and I always loved Formula One, but, you know, being a little kid, this was it. Same for Courtney, you know. She lives in a world where, like, you know, whatever mattered was once just to see what it's like, so I can relate, but I found all that cool.
What, 5,000 horsepower? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of horsepower, but like I said, I mean, I enjoy what I do, and
She enjoys what she does.
seems like it at least. You're losing power over there.
I think so. This race is going to be, I think, as good a race as they've had. There's some really good teams, a lot of parity, I think, in the teams. So that this could be a tough 3 weeks of May.
Well, May is always tough, but I do think now you got a fourth Penske. You got, geez, I mean, it seems like Andretti's running half the field. You've got obviously five Ganassis, right? Is Saavedra run? Yeah, that's 5. You got cars everywhere, so it's going to be pretty full field, I think, and it's going to be very competitive. You look at those guys right there. I mean, that's 14 or 15 cars between those 3 teams, and those are all good cars. So it's going to be pretty tough. You throw in the aero kits in that mix, and else it's going to be pretty entertaining. But like I said, before I look at the 500, I got a big race this weekend in the GP, and our team's been really strong on the road courses, and that's my focus right now, is trying to capitalize. I think we're 9 points out of 4th in the championship, and we've missed some opportunities this year. NOLA really hurt the way the strategy killed those of us running the top 5, got hosed in that deal, and and then you look at St. Pete. I mean, we got a championship to contend with here, and so the GP focus. How long does Steak and Shake stay with you? Well, hopefully forever. So everybody keep buying Steak and Shake. You got. I love Steak and Shake. I'm not just saying that. Like when I was a kid, I used to go to Steak and Shake all the time. In Ohio, it was like, I mean, I still do. When I go home, all my buddies always want to go to Steak and Shake. But there's one right down the street from Mid-Ohio. And so when I heard we were, I was like beyond thrilled. I know they're pretty excited, about everything they're seeing, and they're kind of dipping their toe in the water right now. There's so much potential here for them. And Steak and Shake with the new ownership is, I think, really growing. And it's pretty cool to see them expanding into the West Coast and other regions now. And so hopefully we'll see them on board a little more. They're going to be on for 3 more races. Well, the next 5 basically, but they'll be on at Mid-Ohio at the end of the year too. So they'll be around, and who knows where else it might go. Letterman gave it away the other night, half ago or so. He gave everybody in the audience a Steak and Shake. Well, Dave was a big part of this. Oh, I'm sure he was. Because he loves Steak and Shake, which I didn't realize, but he's obsessed with it. So it worked pretty well because we finally found something that I guess pulled at Dave's heartstrings. I mean, we've had a lot of cool sponsors, but he's never done anything like that before. So it's a shame he's retiring in 2 weeks. I wish he had done this about 5 years ago because his team would be doing really good right about now. Yeah, but with him on the loose now, he can show up more often and maybe can help you out in the marketing division because everybody in this country knows him. I hope so. For him, he's got his son Harry. He's I think 10 or 11 now. So as I told Dave, we were with him the other day, and he's sitting there wondering what he's going to do in retirement. And I said, well, I think you can probably do whatever you want to do, but more so, it's probably I could see him spend a lot of time with his son. I think that's a big thing, and he's trying to get him involved in racing and interested in racing, and hopefully we can get him out to the track and convince him a little more because we could use Dave around. He's a great guy. Yeah, he said he wants to get his son involved and get his interest peaked, so I'm sure he'll make an effort to make that happen. We're gonna try. I think he'll be here this weekend, and obviously for the 500, but that'll be his 3rd race this year. That's already a pretty good start. Well, I was told by Kathy, wherever Kathy is, that you have a commitment. She's hiding. Well, no, she better be on time. So I don't want taking the time. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys all coming out, and the vibe is really good right now, and I hope we can keep growing this. Thanks for all your support. And don't forget the tracks. You get a couple of bags to go, and away you go. That's right. That's right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks. Graham Rahal. Do you see Eric in here? Graham, you see Eric? Is Eric here?
Eric, are you here? I mean, Steve. What am I saying, Eric? Steve. Well, I will. What kind of talk is that? Steve. Tonight, by Sam Pierce Chevrolet in Daleville, Indiana. Come to the country and see why the best prices are, in fact, in the country. Sam Pierce Chevrolet. Also see why Sam is always at the top of the customer satisfaction rating. Take I-69 to exit 34. You exit south 1 mile, and you will see Sam Pierce Chevrolet. So, if you have anything you need embroidered, by all means, Fran. She loves it. She loves to talk on the phone. Tell her what you got, what you need, and she'll take care of it. She's located on the Gasoline Alley in the Hinchman Building. You can give her a call and tell her what you need. The number is 317-271-4442. And if you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle or a new Toyota, stop in to see Dave Langston at Beck Toyota. He's been in business on the south side for over 35 years and has a reputation. Beck Toyota is the #1 certified pre-owned Toyota dealership in the state of Indiana. Beck has an inventory of over 100 different makes and models, and Dave is a professional. Treats you to make the buying process an easy one. Give him a call. The number is 317-760-1613. And if you're looking for insurance for your car or your life, do what I did. Call Mike Pardee Insurance, located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Give Mike a call. The number is 317-248-070. You might be surprised. Get a quote from him. He surprised me. I got better coverage for less money. And founded in 1993 to spearhead Honda IndyCar racing, Honda Performance Development has overseen successful racing efforts at all levels of the sport, from karting and to IndyCar and prototype sports cars. HPD offers race engines and complex for professional and entry-level racing. For more information about the company and the company's racing products, please visit hpd.honda.com. That's hpd.honda.com. Is Steve Erickson here? Steve, where are you? Oh, don't tell me. Get the vice president. Oh, maybe this is him. No, it's not. Get the vice president, chief operating officer of Honda HPD. What I should do is call his pal. 3 weeks of May, not being the world's greatest fan of road race. By the way, while we're here, I need to say something. Returning for the 74th time, the Hall of Fame and any number of Hall of Fames, Ralph Liguori is back in town. Say hello to Ralph. It's amazing. He walks in the door. I said, my gosh, he's still here. How about that? Even any more of racing, or if you put your midget away? Oh, you don't even drive on the street anymore. That's a good idea. Oh yeah, I need to mention that. We're the thing. What did I do with it? You folks know, of course, Milo and Betty Jo that sat at this table forever. They're here every Tuesday night. Milo is very, very, very ill, extremely. They are in Lima, Ohio. He is in hospice. They just moved him into a second one today. He is not doing well at all. I talked to Betty Jo, and she said, don't know. I have an address where you can send him a card. And I said to her, should we hurry? And she said, yes, I think you better. So, and if you don't get it tonight, it'll be, you can look up AutoSportRadio.com and the video will tell you. But his name is Milo Vanek, V-A-N-E-K, at 9641 Street. It's 9641 Market Street Lima, Ohio 452. That's ILO Vanek, VANEK, 9641 Market Street, North Lima, Ohio 44452. He's a great guy. The two of them were volunteers everywhere. I don't care if you went down to the convention center, they were there. If you went to the baseball games, they were there. If you went to the museum, I've seen them there. They volunteered everywhere. Great people, but he is not doing it. So if you get a chance, send him a card. He would enjoy it. And I also think you need to keep June 10th to the 14th open for the Brick Vintage Racing Invitational. They have the Legends of Pro-Am. They got live music. Blood, Sweat, and Tears will be here. A huge fireworks display. It should be a great weekend. And as I said, I have the President and CEO of SVRA coming on the 9th of June. And with any luck, we may have some tickets to give away to patrons of AutoSport. It's going to be a great... They say they've got about 1,000 antique cars coming, the vintage cars that will be racing, and the Grand Marshal will be 4-time 500 winner Al Unser Sr. So mark your calendar. You don't want to miss this thing. It is spectacular. And are you going to go? Oh, I see. Have you got any inquiries on the suite yet? Uh-oh. If anybody's interested in a suite, see this young lady. Friday and Saturday prices have been reduced. See Eileen, she's sitting right here in the white sweater. If you trip and fall on your way, she's a nurse, she can help you. I call and see what happened. So stand by a minute. Eldon, can you hear me? Okay. How's that? Is that better? Okay. Sorry. Did you miss what Graham had to say? I'll get him back. You could hear him? Okay. Or you could hear him? How many are planning on attending the Angie's List Grand Prix this weekend? Mike, is Lana going to go? Lana's not. What the heck is the deal? Ma'am, I have a ticket. I have a ticket.
You want to buy it?
What do I look stupid?
Thank you.
No, you sold a few.
Yeah, I did.
I know you did. Leadfoot, I'm making a donation too.
I'll be right there.
Tell who? Eldon? She's on her way. For you. Hang on. 445-0150. If you haven't got your ticket yet, Benevolent Foundation golf outing, get the ticket. Some great prizes. You won't want to miss out on them. I know Dennis thinks he's going to win, but I just... So, no, I got it. Fortunately, the man that I was going to call is at a meeting tonight. He is on the board of directors for the Motorsports Hall of Fame, so he's at a meeting, and I can't call to find out where Steve is, which is not good. Hey, Glenn. You're the only one by the name of Glenn that I'm aware of. One of the most famous observers in the history of IndyCar racing. I got that straight from him. This is one of the all-time greats, Timmis.
Thank you, Don. I don't think you know what you're talking about, but thank you anyhow.
Now, what I do when I observe. I stand around generally and don't do much, but I look and listen. What do you do? What is the job of an observer?
Well, it's mostly a preventive thing, I believe. Prevent things from going wrong, such as tires getting in trouble and things coming off of cars that cause problems and things laying on the track that cause problems and things like that. So we're more preventing than anything. I like to consider us part of the safety team. I know not a lot of people use vein, but that's basically what we are. We're an extension of the safety team, really.
Is it still, I know a few years ago it was, and I'm sure it hasn't changed it, various parts of the color, so when something falls off, you know where it came from?
In some cases, but now, you know, you've got 200 more parts you're just talking about, so it's a pretty little different world now. So the main thing is to identify what it is from the standpoint of, does it have height? Is it hard, or is it a piece of rubber? This type of thing. That's where we really get into these fuzzy areas where it's difficult to discern 200 mile an hour what you're looking at. You just kind of try to watch as things progress, and if you see something that you think might go wrong, well, you kind of keep your eye on that. And
connect with, when you see something, who do you call?
We have a person in race control that we communicate with, and they're, of course, sitting next to fire people and all that kind of thing. So to them.
They're up in race control with Brian and his
yes,
staff?
Absolutely, yeah.
And who makes the decision to throw the caution? You tell them you better?
Well, if we see something we deem necessary, we use the term yellow, yellow, yellow. There are times when they might overrule us, but for the most part, they usually take what we're saying because it's, and we don't throw that term around lightly. We try to use that whenever it's necessary or we feel like it is. The thing that you get into is sometimes that you think somebody's going to hit the wall, they may not, but after you while and watch the angles of the cars and things like that, you do have a feel for when they're going to do that. We try not to do a yellow unless there's a contact with either the wall or two cars or whatever the case may be. So it's kind of one of those things where you try to do a little anticipating and keep your head on your shoulders.
Do you observe? Obviously, you guys don't go to street and road courses. They get SCCA road street turn one all the time, or they move you around?
Move us, but for the most part, the traveling team stays in their own spot, wherever that is. I happen to be in turn 2, but there were several years I worked turn 4. It's not in stone, but I think they like to keep you where you're familiar. You know the progression of who they're talking to as they go back, and they kind of learn your voice as much as anything. It kind of makes things a little simpler from that standpoint.
Do you have a problem? I know communication a couple of years ago was a problem. Only one at a time could talk, and if you didn't get connected, no matter what you said, they couldn't hear you. Has that been solved?
Well, the biggest problem I think we have, and I don't know if I'm speaking out of school here, but I think in this room know this, is we have a delay, and the delay kills you. They're trying to conquer that, but for some reason, and I'll give you what I think is a perfect example of what happened to me with the delay. I think it was 3 years ago when Simona caught fire in Texas, going down the backstretch. I was working the backstretch on a particular day, and I saw her. I didn't see her hit the wall in turn 2, but I saw her come off the wall, and I could see that there was fire. And I pressed the button and went yellow, 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 car 78 or whatever it was. And by the time I had gone through the progression of the delay, and I said she was in turn 3. That's not acceptable. I don't think, and I don't think anybody else thinks it's acceptable. And I happened, when you had John Koski here a couple, 3 weeks ago, I was talking to him, and he said that I kept reading into what he was saying, that maybe this was going to be observers, period. he said, I don't really believe that. I think we need to enhance what you do in some manner, and that would start with a communication system. So let's hope there's something that works there.
How long you been doing How long you been doing this?
This will be my 45th 500 and my 17th year traveling. There won't be too many more of these for me. I guess I should say that I really want to work the 100th Indy 500. I think that's going to be a hallmark. And I spent all of my 60s telling people I was a 70-year-old observer. I spent all my 70s now telling people I'm not going to be an 80-year-old, and I'm not. That's probably going to be next year. I would like to work the Indy 500 and probably most of the season, and then I'm going to bow out. I think that's my plan right now. Anyhow, we'll see how things go. You can always change your mind, but that's kind of what I got in my head now.
How many 500s have
This will be 45.
and you haven't won yet?
No.
Oh.
I don't want to keep them safe.
Well, what does it take to become an observer? If somebody says, I want to be an observer, what do you have to do? Where do you go? What do you do? How do you train?
You know, there is no handbook, and there really isn't a good way to define this. I think a lot of people look at us as are overzealous race fans. And in all fairness, that's probably the way most of us started out. But there's really a lot more to it than that. It's something that you kind of learn as you go. And the training at one time was when we were doing the Brickyard. Because you can't believe this, but when you look at a stock car on the speedway, it is so much slower than an Indy car. It's amazing. And it's almost like you could eat a lunch before they get to you. But that was a good place to train people. Now, NASCAR, in their infinite wisdom, really didn't like listening to it. They decided that they wouldn't use us anymore, and we haven't worked a Brickyard now for 3 or 4 years. So now we keep reducing the staff little by little by people leaving for one reason or another. I think the technology that's going along with this now, because we do have good film coverage, camera coverage, 17 cameras at the speedway, and if we see something that we can't really identify, that camera helps us determine what it is by them looking at it in race control. So it's just one of those things that you kind of have to learn as you go. And when I started, you didn't get on a headset for the first 2 years, and so you just sat and watched. And so it's just one of those things that you kind of have to observe, pick up the language, use it properly, and go along with whatever's going on.
And the whole idea is to keep the drivers and the race fans and the race safe.
That's correct. That's the whole premise of the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you will survive this year's event, so you'll have number 45 under your belt. And looking for now, if you get to 46, 50.
No, I think time. I when I was really young, so I think there's a time and place for this, and I think I've figured where I want to go with it, and we'll leave it there.
Okay, if that's the way you're going to be. All right.
I can always change my mind, but I probably won't.
Okay. Well, here's a guy who's been 45 500s as an observer. Good grief. A lot of people are observers, but they got a ticket and they sit in the grandstand. That's not the same, is it?
No, sometimes that gets a little bit confused between the two. And when I first started, the newsmen once in a while would catch us and questions, and they always said, do not ever, ever make a comment to the media about what's going on or what you're doing, because it can be construed as something, because the next day it'll show up in the newspaper as an observer said this. Well, that could be a spectator for all you know, as opposed to a real observer. That's why this term is kind of ominous and difficult to explain.
But you just did.
I hope.
Glenn Timmis, 45th race as an observer.
Thank you. Appreciate your help and support.
Now, how many people went to the bench racing event this year? 3, really? 4. Oh, you went. That's 4. Come on up here. Chuck, This is is the man who, for some inexplicable reason, thought that he ought to pick up the bench racing weekend that somebody had done for a number of years and said, that's enough of that nonsense. So he and his lovely bride said, we'll take it over. And this year was their second year, and it grew a little bit. I want to find out how things are going, how things look this year, and what you have in mind for next year. Please welcome Mr.
Thank you. You know,
No, I don't, so tell us.
well, so bench racing week, March 14th, and there's a couple faces in the room that went, and there's a couple faces in the room that couldn't make that weekend because it conflicted with this Irish drinking thing. What's it called?
I don't know. I don't drink.
Something about green beer.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, IndyCar was out of town and a bunch of things like that. But so we're going to move it, I think, to like that's not official, so it's subject to change. But that weekend seems to work. But we had a number of new people this year, and that offset the regulars that called me up and said, "I can't make that weekend. Move it back." And so I'm encouraged that I think next year we might get the net gain that we hope to see. 20 people showed up.
Do you term the 2 years you've done this to be successful?
Absolutely, it's successful. The people that come just love it. I mean, that's why I got involved, because I loved it. And if you've been to that bench racing thing, you just know it's special. It's in March. It's deep and rich in racing history. People who worked it, our fans, media, just all kinds of people that used to be involved in racing in one way or another. And they just love to get together. The content it's not a big production. There's not like 1,000 people and there's TV and all this stuff. It's just a small, intimate gathering of people who love motorsports.
And I know the first year there were people kind of wide and far. I ran into people from the north, quite a bit far north of Chicago had come in for areas.
We did. We had people from California, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas. So yeah, we get a lot of people to travel in to come to it.
Did it grow this year? I mean, you said some people who were there last year couldn't make it this year, but did the content? I mean, you had car shows, you had a number of guests. Did that part, the content of the event, increase in size?
Yeah, we actually, because of the fact we have people that travel, and we noticed there was nothing organized for Friday night. So we added something Friday night, and it was a risk. We didn't know what we'd get. So we asked Bob Harkey to come in, and Dave the King Wilson interviewed him, and it was fine. And it was one of these really rich conversations where just talking and listening about racing. You could ask questions. And Bob Harkey, by the way, when we asked him to do this, we told him, we don't know who's going to show up. Could be nobody, could be a house full. And it was well attended. And Bob said, well, since I'm doing this, I want to do a car show. This is the second week of March, right? And he wants to do a car show. So we said, well, subject to weather, we'll give it a try. So we had, on Saturday morning, we had the first invitational Bob Harkey car show. We had like 8 cars, and the weather just like on cue. 9 o'clock in the morning, it stopped raining. Sun came out. Lucky in that regard, because we had some terrific cars outside.
Are you going to expand on that next year?
Bob said he'd do it again, so good chance we're going to do that car show again.
Well, you need to do it during the day because he can't drive at night. So.
Well, it'll be during the day.
How does your bride enjoy this effort? I know you travel, you've got a job, and you're here and there, and she's busting her hump, and you're off in Phoenix, or you're down in Florida. Mm. How does she like it?
Well, she likes it a lot. It's a fun thing to be involved in. She really does a lot of the organizing. I mean, I'm like you said, I'm there, but I'm not. And it's not just Ann and I. I mean, we have a whole team of people. We got Nina Ray. We got a lot of people that just sort of band together to be done as scheduled.
You got a website?
We do.
Is it up to date?
Yes, it is. IndyBRW.com.
IndyBRW.com. Let's
That's
see.
right.
Bench Racing Week. How'd I do?
That's good.
Ooh,
It's kind of catchy.
that is. Oh, yeah. And you have a Facebook page.
No, we don't have a Facebook page
Why?
because I'm not as.
I trust me.
Well, you got a Facebook page?
Yes.
Oh, you're up to date then.
I don't
I'm
use
not.
it. I don't use it much.
We'll probably get a Facebook
What about now?
maybe this fall. Right now it's the month of May. Like everybody else, right in this time of year, it's like boom, we know what we're doing.
I see.
Yeah,
All right. I guess I'll let you off the hook on that one.
yeah.
All right. Well, you're anticipating the possibility that next year it will be the 20th or 21st of March, somewhere in that area.
That's
Maybe.
looking like it. Yeah,
Maybe.
it's looking like it.
Okay. Well, I am very glad to hear that it was successful. I heard that the tour, you took a tour of Dallara and Carpenter, Fisher, Hartman Racing, and that.
It did go well. And actually, when we scheduled Carpenter, Fisher, Hartman, IndyCar hadn't added all those test dates. And they called me up the week before and they said, there's not going to be a soul here. There will be no haulers, no cars, no driver crew. They're all going to be south. I didn't know if I wanted to cancel. And I'm like, no, I don't want to cancel. So we worked out as best we could some content. Because it's still, after all, a new race shop. Most people haven't been there. And when you walk through the building, you got this understanding that this was a purpose-built building. It was built to be a race shop by people who own race teams. And so you could kind of see how they physically laid the facility out to do all the various functions by designing the building that way. So it was interesting, even though there were no race cars there. Dallara is always. They had that wrapping thing going on with Panther, and they also have the Indy racing experience downstairs. So there was a lot to see there. They're all a good class act outfit.
Well, I am pleased to hear that things went well. Heard earlier, and what your
I got to
plan
mention
is.
Sarah.
You got a what?
I got to mention Sarah. If we're going to go through bench racing weekend, after the cocktail hour and after the banquet, Fisher interviewed by Donald Davidson. Just a magical event like last year when we had Bob Jenkins and Paul Goldsmith. That was a magical interview. Sarah Fisher and Donald Davidson, really terrific. And I want to give you an example. Donald, you got he took a note of the driver. Eldon was there and some others, and he made some notes because he didn't know who was going to be there when he got there. He knew Sarah was going to be there. And so he put together this little sort of leading questions. So when he first sat down, instead of starting right out with, "So, Sarah, how are you?" he did some questions to the audience. Like, guess who's the only driver to do this, that, and the other thing, right? And every one of the answers was one of the 5 drivers that was in the room. But the last question was, who's the only Indy 500 driver to give birth? And it was like a perfect segue to Sarah. And then it was a terrific interview.
Clever man.
He's a clever guy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we look forward to next year. I will talk to you a little bit. My friend Mr. Erickson didn't make it here, so I pulled upon you and the Observer of the Year to fill some time.
I look forward to seeing everybody at bench racing next year.
Well, yes, you too. Now, look. All right. Anyway, bench racing next year. Keep up with it. IndyBRW.com.
And we'll have a Facebook in the fall.
What, you're going to have a Facebook and you're going to fall? Chuck Schumann. Has anybody got something they want to contribute? Since we're sitting here, open mic type. Come here. What the heck was that noise? Come here, go over and sit down. We have a budding race driver, although it looks like he hasn't been watered recently. He is currently attending class part-time whenever he gets a chance at IUPUI. He and his dad own sprint cars, and he is Please welcome Mr. Mike Gass. Are you paying them to cheer?
No, they just they've been cheering for quarter midgets, and they came out to my quarter midget races when I was younger, and
You were younger? You're not
yeah.
young now?
Well, when I was about 10 or 11.
Oh.
That's about 10 years ago now. So
I see.
time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, I bet. How many hours a day or a week do you go to IUPUI?
This semester I took 15 credit hours, which ends up being probably in class 25 hours a week or so, and then outside of class you have to put 25 more hours in. I mean, I had one class this semester that was only 8 weeks long, but I was putting at least 10 hours a week just on that class and trying to keep things going.
How hard is it to go? How hard is it to go to class and work on your race car?
It's pretty tough because most of the time during the day when I'm not at class, I'm trying to at least be at the race shop. And when they have us at the race shop and then you're there till 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and then after that you go home and you're doing homework until 1 in the morning and just keep doing that every day. When we're getting ready to go out and race, there was the morning of our first race a couple weeks ago at Putnamville Speedway. And then during all night long I was doing homework. I mean, sleep's the second option to us.
Your mom and dad are gung-ho race people. Is your dad as gung-ho as your mom is?
My dad's probably, he's a little more into the sprint car stuff, where my mom's definitely an IndyCar person. If any of you guys know her, she goes to a lot of races every year, and she scaled it back a little bit to try to see more the last couple of years, and we enjoy her being there. And my dad's really interested in helping me with the sprint car stuff, and he was originally a midget guy and owned his own midget, and I ended up talking him into going dirt sprint car racing, which I think it scares him a little bit. He keeps going every week. Gets his nerves going, and he really likes me here doing my stuff, and
He doesn't eat M&Ms at the racetrack?
No. My mom, if any of you know my mom, she works, and sometimes we get Skittles or things to take with us to the racetrack. But personally, I'm a believer in the pits, and my dad's favorite type of M&Ms are the peanut M&Ms. So I'm a little bit old school in that regard. I don't like to take the chance. I don't believe in superstitions, but there's always that chance. You never know. So.
Well, good. Since you don't like and they got AutoSport radio on them too. Pretty clever, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know how long it took me to write all that on all of those? Oh. What is your goal? Now, you see that gentleman sitting over there with that nice hat on top of his head?
Yes.
He's in about 19 Halls of Fame. He drove a midget for, 300 years it seems like, but it was in 6 or 7 decades. He went and ran NASCAR before NASCAR knew who they were. I'm talking about him. Looking at me like I said something wrong. Ralph Liguori, he's in all kinds of... If you need to consult on how to drive a race car on dirt, that's the guy.
I talk to Joe all the time. I'm always at C&R with, I don't know if you know Chewy. Yeah, he's been taking me to C&R and talking to Joe and Michael Lewis. I've known Joe for a long time. When I was a little kid, I raced slot cars also. At some of the bigger races, we'd see Joe, so I always liked Joe, and Joe's always got a good story, or, he always comes and talks to us, so.
Well, what's your goal? What do you want to do? Do you want to go into Indy cars like your mom likes, or you want to just get dirty?
Yeah, I really like running dirt sprint cars. They're a blast. There's nothing like them. But if I got the chance that Brian Clausen has, I wouldn't pass it up. To run the speedway would be amazing.
Well, all I can tell you is keep studying at IUPUI, get your degree. What do you take? What are you majoring in?
Motorsports engineering.
Oh, that's clever.
We have professors like Andy Borm, who worked on the first 2 cars that Elio Castroneves won in the 500. He showed us, printed himself out climbing the fence So he was one of the race engineers on those cars. So there's people over there, and it's a different, all the aero stuff and everything. You learn a whole different world almost.
Dean's List?
No, but I get good grades for what I do. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. Good luck. When's your next race?
I'm hoping to run Bloomington this Friday, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. It depends if my dad's able to get off work. So, because he has a truck in Chicago this week with him. So, if we don't run there, we'll probably go to the next week. We'll probably go to Gas City Friday night, and then probably Putnamville Saturday night. Actually, today I looked at Putnamville's points. Points over there right now. We're not even racing for points, so I guess things are going okay.
Well, keep going.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Keep an eye on him. Mike Gass. And if you're ever at a race and you may not know his mother, just stand still and listen. You'll hear her. So, she is a great supporter of IndyCar, loves her stuff, and I have to thank her. If anybody wants any M&Ms, please help yourself. Next week, one of my guests I have scheduled is the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mr. Doug Bowles. I'm going to assume Mr. Erickson would. Obviously, that didn't work out real well. And I talked to him on Tuesday, and he said, absolutely. So, you know what absolutely means. I want to remind you once again, if you get a chance to send a card to those of you who have been here regularly, we're here. He keeps asking, are we going to the radio show? No, Milo, we're not going. It's Milo Vanek, V-A-N-E-K, V-A-N-E-K, 641 Market Street, North Lima, Ohio, 44452. Send him a card. Until next week, if you're not sure who my guests are, go to AutoSport Radio. Click on the current show page, and we're going to have the website fixed where you can sign up and get the emails and all that kind of thing. Got a lot of exciting things going on with our new alliance with Computer Overdrive. Trust me, if you need help with a computer, this young man that was here knows his way around a computer. He had us up streaming live and a YouTube channel within an hour. So check him out. Computer Overdrive, 5240 Crawfordsville Road. It's just across the street from the PNC Bank on that little frontage road. Go in there and see Jack and Mark. Go over here and talk to Mark about racing. He's a former crew chief. Till next week. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, listening. Tuesday night, good night.
Before you move away, I couldn't get all stuff with my scratch pad up in time. VANEK